Mark Lasswell, Parkway North, class of '74. I moved to the Parkway School District for fourth grade, and I went to Fern Ridge, and was in Mrs. Voorhees's class, and she was a great fourth grade teacher, I made friends there, like my good friend Kevin Simpson, who's a journalist out in Denver, Colorado. I've known Kevin since fourth grade, and we went through elementary school. Then he had to go to North Junior. I went to Parkway Central, and had great teachers at Central. There was Bill Bascom, and Miss Hayes and Mr. Parsons, and were terrific influences on my life. And then I went up to Central Senior for my sophomore year, and they announced the building of Parkway North Senior High School, which was going to be this big new modern facility. And I heard that Mr. Bascom, who had been my soccer coach at the junior high, was going to be going to the senior high. And he had, even in ninth grade English class, had really opened my eyes to what literature could be and what good writing could be. He taught the J.D. Salinger 9 stories, which were, I still remember to this day, him up in front of the class talking to us about it. And so I thought, you know what, I want to transfer to North, because he was going there, and we heard that other great teachers were going up there too. So but I was in the Central District, so I wrote a letter to the school board arguing why I should be allowed to follow this teacher who I thought was so important to my education. And I remember they agreed to let me go, and then they asked me if my parents had written the letter for me, because I took that as a real compliment, because they thought it was so well argued. And they said they thought I was going to be a lawyer when I grew up. So that was the path not taken. So then I went to North, and there was Mr. West, Mr. Mosseri, Rick Blaha, John Shannon, this great like murderer's row of terrific teachers. But the big thing why I went to North was for Bill Bascom, because he, more than anyone, was a real influence on my life. And so I came out of high school really appreciating good writing, wanting to be a writer, and I went to Mizzou because they had the best journalism school in the country. But first of all, I'm a journalism school dropout. I realized after a couple of semesters, you don't really need to study journalism to be a journalist. What you need is to know more about the world and to be widely read and sort of informed about things. You can sort of intuit how to do journalism just from reading journalism, and there's some basic rules and all that. But in truth, I don't remember the names of any of my professors from college, but as you've just heard, I remember many, many of the teachers who influenced me throughout elementary school, junior high, and senior high. And I would say to someone coming up now, not to advise children what they should do or young people what they should do, but I would say read as much as you can, because this is the one time in your life when you're free to do it. And it'll point you in different directions. Maybe something you're reading might not point you in the direction of literature, but it might point you in the direction of science or history or something else that you're interested in. And that can be a great influence. Maybe it'll lead you to be a journalist. Journalism's not the greatest thing in the world, like career path right now, because it's really contracting a lot. But being versed in literature and writing and all can take you many different places. Could even make you a lawyer probably if you want to try that route. And then once I graduated from high school, I wanted to be, or from college, I wanted to be a writer. So I moved back to St. Louis, and I thought, well, I can write my fiction. I was going to write the great American novel. But I need a job, a part-time job, so I can make a living, pay the rent while I'm writing. So I thought, what can I do? And I started looking in the paper for jobs, and the Parkway School District was hiring bus drivers. So I applied for a bus driving job, and they basically, as I recall it, they basically challenged me to back the bus. They had all the buses lined up, and they asked me if I could back it out and then straighten it out on the line, and I did it. And they were like, "You're hired." So then I ended up not only driving a Parkway school bus with my freshly minted University of Missouri degree, I ended up driving my old route through my old subdivision. So I used to joke with the kids, like, see kids get a college degree and you too can drive a school bus, like move from the back of the bus to the front. But instead I told them, but I'm a writer and this is how, but sometimes you have to do other jobs than what you really want to do to get to where you want to go. And so eventually I did go where I wanted to, and I moved to New York and became a writer and editor and all that. And I think one thing you hear people told a lot, especially high school graduates and college graduates, is you have to follow your passion. Well, first of all, a lot of young people don't have a passion yet. Some teenagers' passions are sleeping late and just sort of knocking around. And I think sometimes there's so much emphasis put on follow your passion for your career path. Well, first of all, not everybody has a passion, and other times you can try some different career paths, and maybe something that you didn't realize was a passion can become your passion. You don't have to know coming right out of the box what it is you want to do, and it might not even happen for several years. It was, I knocked around for quite a few years before I really got going, and then things worked out. But I think if you talked to me at 25, I might not have known, where I was going or what was going to happen. So I would say relax, read as much as you can. If you can find one good teacher that really influences your life, you're very lucky. And count yourself lucky that you're going to school in the Parkway School District. I think I can testify on its behalf.
Well, that's wonderful, and it sounds like you really gave some good advice for students to have a strong skill set to open up the doors to do whatever they want to do in their life.
Right.
Can you share a little bit about what this award means to you to be a Parkway Hall of Fame recipient?
I think that I realized that I think that in some ways it's, the people and whatever accomplishments they've had in life, in some ways, it's testimony to the education that they got starting out and even in elementary school. And it reflects that those teachers, they see all these kids and they push out 30, 60, 100 kids every year. But they're sending those people out into the world. And then, for instance, I'm a journalist. I met my wife at a newspaper. Then we had 2 great kids. And the ripple effect of the teachers you have, then the influence that these teachers have, goes throughout much wider than just this one kid in your class. It affects their lives and has multiple effects on people. And so I think that in some ways, like because Bill Bascom got me interested in writing, I became a writer. I went to a newspaper. I met my wife. We have our kids. It's a reflection. So whatever I've done in my life is a reflection of that influence that began all those years ago. So it's a great honor to be in the Hall of Fame and everything. But in some ways, it's a testimony to the people who helped form me or any of the other recipients. I think that all the teachers in Parkway can take some little bit of credit for whatever accomplishments there are that these people, because they sent them out into the world. And it's a good thing.